was about to say, I'm give my 30 card back.
So for our closing keynote speaker, all the way from Switzerland, she is formerly known sort of as the evil HR lady, but she's recently rebranded. So if you've been following her on LinkedIn, you know she's now the improved your HR lady. She's still under the umbrella of HR, but she wanted to try something different and new, and she's here to talk about it with you guys today. I met Suzanne virtually about a few years ago in the Evil HR group, and from there we just began to socialize and connect. And when we set out for the committee to reach out for keynote speakers, I went bold, and I asked her if she would come, and that's when she let me know, because I didn't read very well somewhere, that she lives in Switzerland. You know, attention to details maybe not being my forte sometimes. But she said yes, she came in this week, she's been loving Texas, she is here to help you guys take control of your life in the HR fashion. So, without further ado, Suzanne Lucas, everyone.
Thank you so much. What Mel didn't say was, I said, well, what food are you going to be serving at the conference? And when she said barbecue, I said, okay, I'm coming. Because Switzerland is full of really good things, but barbecue, not one of them. So, all right. Oh, Mel. What happened? Oh, it's okay. We're all good. Everything is good. No, it's not. Okay, it's good over there. All right, and now, okay, resume slideshow. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right. What does your normal day look like? My graphics? Yes! The thing is about being in HR is that we spend all of our time solving problems that we didn't create, correct? How many of you today have received a call or a text or an email from work? How many of those were about a problem? How many of you that didn't just turned off your phone? Right? All of our lives, now granted, sometimes we make our own problems. We are not perfect. We are practically perfect in every way, but we are not perfect. And sometimes we do make our own problems. Heaven knows I've made problems of my own life. But most of the time, professionally, we're solving problems that other people made that wouldn't be a problem if they had what? Say it louder. Listen to us in the first place. Right? There was one memorable time I had when I was doing, I did the year-end salary increase for the company. I was responsible for that. And we were selling a division. And they said, we're not going to give those people an increase because we're selling the division in January. And I said, this is not going to go over well. And they said, no, it's too much of a budget thing. We're just not going to do it. And I said, this will not go over well. So then everybody else in the company gets their year-end increase, and this group does not. And they started quitting. And you know when you're selling a division, you're selling the people? The buyers were like, what in the heck? You're getting rid of our people. And so then who got a phone call? Suzanne, we need to do a year-end increase for these people. I'm like, oh, really? That's so weird. Because you were selling the division so it didn't matter. A problem I then had to solve that I didn't create. That is part of life. And it's not just our HR life. How many of you have received a phone call, text, or email from family members today? From teachers? Hopefully not a school nurse. Isn't that the worst when you like get a voicemail? Hi, this is Jane from the school nurse's office. Call me back. You're like, great. We are the problem solvers. We solve HR problems, we solve family problems, we solve neighborhood problems, we join SHRM committee and join SHRM problems. We are natural problem solvers. But here's the thing. You are the only person that you have control over. The rest of what we can do is make suggestions, and everything else, we have to rely on other people to use their judgment to follow our advice in the first place, which they don't always do. But you have control over you. And that's the only person you can make do anything. And so now you have an option. You can let things happen and just go along. This is just how it is. We're just going to let things happen. Or you can make things happen. Letting things happen, making things happen. So many people, and I think maybe some people in this room, let things happen to them. And then they're miserable because of it. But we can make things happen. And this is what we're going to talk about today, because we're going to take control of our HR lives, and the same principles allow you to take control of the rest of your life too, with the exception of your teenagers. God bless. You can't control them. You can't control your toddlers either. You can pick them up and carry them, but that's it. So how do we make things happen? How do we make things happen? I spent so much of my life waiting for permission to do things. Like, I needed somebody else to tell me, it's okay, you can do that now. And so often as HR people, we do stand around waiting for people to tell us it's okay. If you were to believe TikTok, HR has all the power in the world, right? I got fired because of this nasty HR lady. Okay, it was your boss that wanted to fire you. I advised your boss against it. They did it anyway. Or I said to your boss, absolutely. But in most companies, HR can't just walk in and fire. Hey, you're fired. Like, I can't do that. And I wouldn't fire you because you seem very nice. Anybody that sits in the front row is like a go-getter. As a matter of fact, he's now promoted. HR can't do that either, right? We can't just be like, ooh, I like you and you guys are promoted. No, we have to wait for things to happen. Policies, we suggest, but who makes the final decision? Leadership. One of the things that we get blamed for, why did I get such a lousy raise? Well, it was finance that gave the budget. It was not me. It was finance. So you say, well, wait a minute, how am I going to make things happen? Well, the first thing you've got to do is accept reality. And this is actually harder than you think. Because you know what our favorite thing to do as humans is? Besides eating? What was that? Blaming, yes. Blaming, complaining, and whining. Who likes to do those things? Just two people? You guys are liars. You guys are liars. No wonder nobody likes HR. I've been going around from table to table, and I know that you like to complain. And here are some of the realities we may have to face. Sometimes you have a CEO that's delusional, that just doesn't get it, right? They're well, this worked, I've done this for 40 years and it's been fine. Yeah, okay, but it's not, when was 40 years ago? I'm really old. 1984, oh my gosh. Really? 1984, yes, that was 40 years ago when I was in junior high. Thanks. Okay. The reality, you can never make all of your employees happy. I was talking with these lovely ladies in this table over here, and they said that they do HR for the city of Midland. Odessa. Sorry. A much better city, right? Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, fight, no. And they were saying how they have this huge, broad spectrum of different employees. They have veterinarians, which I didn't understand until they explained that you need those for animal control. There you go. They have and street sweepers and everything in between. How do you make everybody happy? You don't. And you will never have enough time. Do any of you ever say, gosh, I'm done. I'm so bored. I'm going to go home early because I'm done. No. So accept these realities. The CEO isn't going to change. Employees will whine forever. And you will never have enough time. And once you've accepted that reality, then you can move forward. It's when you are trapped focusing on the whining and complaining and the things that you can't do that you can't move forward. So if all you're doing is sitting around saying, these employees are so annoying, don't ever let this get out publicly, because HR people never do that, ever. Ever, right? If that's all you do, if I had, when the division head came to me and said, oops, well, he didn't say oops, he pretended like no one had ever said to him before. If I had just said, oh, well, you didn't listen to me, you're an idiot, and just complained about it, instead of digging in and fixing the problem, the employees would have kept quitting. It could have tanked the deal. Somebody needed to do the processing, the paperwork, and coordinate with payroll in order to get those things done. I had to accept that reality. I couldn't focus on the fact that I told them this was going to happen and they didn't listen. It doesn't do any good to focus on that. It's true, and I can tell the story again and again and again, but I needed to accept that reality, and then I can move forward. Now, one of my alternative life, I don't know what it is, I do improv comedy. I am part of an improv comedy performance team, and I teach improv comedy. And these principles we're going to talk about here as a way to take control of our lives. And the most foundational piece of improv comedy is something called yes and. Do I have anybody here that's done any improv? Nobody. One brave soul. Okay, tell us. Woo. Where's the microphone? Oh, right here. Dun, dun, dun. Do you want to tell her? Unlike Siobhan, I can't run around because I made a shoe choice. But aren't they cute? They are cute. My shoes are cuter than his shoes. All right, tell us what yes and is.
So yes, and refers to when you have a comedy or acting partner, they give you something like a scenario, or they deliver a line, something like that, and you accept it. You don't say, well no, and try to pivot to your own agenda. You accept what they have to say or have done, and you add to it. That's the and part.
Perfect. So if I say, oh my word, that is a beautiful pink and purple polka dotted dress that you're wearing, what do you say?
And it has pockets.
Exactly. And it has pockets. You don't say, I'm wearing a denim jacket. What are you talking about? You accept it and you move on. When I say, oh my goodness, what a cute kitty cat you have, what do you say? Oh, thank you. His name is Fluffy. And he's black, and you're going to tell me about him. And you're like, I don't know why I brought him to the HR conference, but he's here. This is what we do with improv comedy. Otherwise, it wouldn't work, right? If everyone was like, what a beautiful cat you have, and another person's like, I don't have a cat. Oh, what is it? I don't have anything, can't you see? It's not going to be funny. That wasn't very funny. This is this foundational principle where you take whatever is thrown at you and you build on it. You don't say no. You don't say but. You say yes and you build on it. And it's using that principle of accepting what is thrown at you as reality and moving forward. My job sucks. Yes. And now what am I going to do? As long as I think that by complaining about it, I'm going to be able to change it, I can't move forward. If I'm stuck in that but phase, I'm not going to be able to move forward. Now, I need a very brave table. Okay. I have a very brave table. Okay, so what you guys are going to do, and I am going to bribe you with Swiss chocolate, although I gave you some before, so this may not work as a good bribe. You're going to tell us a story, one sentence at a time. Here's the rule. You have to begin each sentence with yes and. So I'll give you the first line, and then you on the end in the beautiful polka dot black dress are going to say yes and you're going to do the next line of the story. So Jane was late for work. And now you're going to say yes and give us the next line of the story. Whatever you say is right.
Do I say your sentence first?
No, just, I've said this is the first line of the story, you're giving us the second line of the story.
And she was at the Permian football game.
Okay, and then you're going to say yes and?
And she brought us all donuts. Yes, and coffee.
Oh.
Yes, and then someone still complained.
Yes, and that's why I ended up at the Midland game.
Keep going. Keep going around your circle.
And Permian beat the Midland team.
1990.
Hold on, let me take off my...
All right. Should I hold your earrings?
And OHS watched all the fun.
So, what did Jane do next?
Oh, and they went and got popcorn and all that good stuff. Yes, and Jane probably should have taken a PTO day.
Yes, and she didn't have any more days.
All right, we'll end it there. Now, this was amazing. It was not going to win an Oscar, though. But, oh, okay, we're going to do that.
Okay, Mom.
But let's give the Midland team.
All right. Let's go.
You're going to tell a story, but you're going to start each sentence with yes, but.
Okay.
So let's give her a starting line. Jane really wanted a promotion.
Yes, but her evaluation was not good.
Yes, but she gave a solid performance throughout the year anyways.
Yes, but everybody got a raise, so why not Jane?
Yes, but Jane also failed to show up like half the year.
Yes, but Jane was out of PTO.
Yes, but I really like Jane.
Yes, but also she had some mental health days saved up that nobody knew about and you can't discuss.
Yes, but I'm not a fan of Jane.
Yes, but Jane really should have taken those mental health days.
Yes, but Jane ended up resigning because of the pressure she felt.
One more.
Yes, but I actually saw her apply 2 days ago again, so.
All right. Woo! 2 lovely teams. That also was not an Oscar-winning story. I'm really sorry. We'll work on it. Anything you noticed about the differences in those 2 stories? More food in the other one. Well, food is the most important, but one was more. One was more positive, one was more negative. Which one was more positive? And did Jane accomplish anything in either one of these stories?
No.
Did she?
She got to witness Permian win.
She went to a football game? Yes. She went and did something. In this story, did she do anything? No, it was all about what she didn't do. When you yes and you give people something to do, you move forward. Jane is never going to get the promotion. It's never going to happen in a yes but. Because there is always a but. But she didn't show up half the time, but nobody likes her, but she ran out of PTO days. There's always a but. There was always something to stop her. Over here, Jane wanted to go to a football game, and by golly, she did it. Was that the best life choice? Probably not, but I know. Okay. But on Friday night when she was supposed to be working, who cares? When you are, when you are focused on, when you are focused on the buts, you can't move forward. So let's say your CEO comes up with a terrible policy. What's a terrible policy that you definitely have not had to deal with and you're making this up 100%? Nose rings. Everybody has to have one or no one can have one? Because I really like the idea of a policy that everyone has to have one. Okay. Okay. Tell us why this is a terrible policy. Okay. A lot of people do have one. Are you the all-powerful HR person of TikTok that made this policy? Absolutely not. So here's the thing. You're in a meeting. What's your name? JC. JC's in a meeting. The CEO says, nose rings not allowed. And you say, here's all the reasons why this is a bad policy. here's the issues you might have with religious discrimination, because there are some religious groups that wear nose rings. You might have a national origin discrimination case, because if somebody's from India or Pakistan, nose rings are very critical to their cultural thing. You give them all of this information, and the CEO says, no nose rings. That is the decision. It is final. Now you've got to implement this policy, because that is part of your job as the HR person. You've got to implement it, you've got to enforce it, you've got to train the managers on nose rings. And boy, this is sounding more unnecessary. But we will go forward. Now, you have 3 options here. Option 1 is to say, I've had it and I quit. I will not enforce this, I quit. That's an actual option. There are some HR hills that I will die on, and you have some too. I am never, ever, ever going to cheat somebody out of their overtime pay. It's not going to happen. I will die on that hill, I will quit if necessary, and I will report you to the Department of Labor. Not going to happen. That is a hill I'm going to die on. I am not going to leave a good job for a nose ring thing. That's not a hill I'm willing to die on. I'm willing to die on this hill, not on that one. But let's say this is your hill and you're going to quit. You can do that. Anytime someone says, I'm trapped in a bad job, you can say, no, you can quit. And they will give you a million reasons why they can't. And you say, oh, well, you've made a choice. Now, your other 2 options are to say, okay, that was a dumb policy, but now I have to embrace it. I'm going to yes and it. And I am going to try to do this in the best possible way to help the employees understand and show them that I love and care about them. I have listened to their concerns, but I'm going to enforce this policy. Or you can yes but it, in which case you're going to say to the employees, yeah, he can't wear a nose ring. I know it's dumb. The CEO wants it. Go take it up with him. What happens when you do the last one? It causes a lot more conflict. A lot more. Does that build employee engagement? Not the right kind. Yeah, it builds concerted action is what it builds. You're not moving forward. Everybody is focused on it. I doubt any of you work for a company whose core function is naked noses. Like, that's not the core function of your company. And that's all you're focused on. But if you yes and it, here's my reality. Here's a stupid thing, but I'm the HR person and I am going to support this and move forward. Now, I talked about HR hills. And one of the ones that I will die on, like I said, is you're going to pay overtime. If someone worked overtime, I don't care if it was unauthorized overtime, I'm happy to fire that person, but first we're going to pay them, right? We're not, this is my hill. I learned about a new hill that I didn't know existed last week I have a Facebook group where Mel is a moderator because she's so nice. And somebody had presented a question where the CEO said, we have a lot of employees whose names I can't pronounce, so I need you to assign them a nickname. I just found a new hill that I was going to die on. I didn't even know that hill existed. But now that's a new hill I'm going to die on, right? So that is something that I'm going to do. And we're going to talk about creating boundaries. And we hear that phrase a lot. Oh, I need boundaries. Oh, that person pushes my boundaries. Oh, my mother-in-law rearranged my kitchen. She just, boundaries, right? But oftentimes we're talking about rules. when we say the word boundaries. And there's a huge difference between boundaries and rules. A rule is something for someone else to do, and a boundary is something that you do. And those may seem really, really little, but they're really critical in taking control of your life. Because as HR people, we often create and enforce rules, or with the nose ring thing, we're just enforcing. We didn't create it, we're enforcing it. But a boundary is something different. A rule is something I tell you to do. A boundary is something that I do. So, for instance, the rule, you must be to work by 8 a.m. That is the rule. Now, if that's the rule that I have created, or the CEO has created, or the department manager has created, somebody's created a rule, what's my boundary on that as an HR person? So, if you are not at work by 8 a.m., I will do the following things. I will write you up, and after 3 late arrivals, I will suspend you. The rule is you must be at work by 8 a.m. But the boundary is what I do. I can make rules all day long, and you choose whether or not to follow those rules. I can only set boundaries based on what I will do. And so this is what I'm going to do if you're not on time. I'm going to write you up, and then if you keep doing it, I'm going to suspend you. And then my policy will be a little bit longer and more detailed, of course, and there will be all sorts of things and points and all of that. But simplified version. That's what a boundary is. A rule. You need to fill out this pre-employment paperwork and have it turned in by Thursday. That's a rule. That's a rule I just gave you. The boundary, I will delay your start date until the Monday after I receive your paperwork. That's a different thing. This is what I am going to do. And this is where we get messed up when it comes to rules and boundaries. Because we say, you're stomping on my boundaries. When my office door is shut, that means don't knock. That's my rule. What's the boundary? What is the boundary? Anybody have this rule? What is your boundary? If someone knocks and you say, come on in, and then you have a conversation with them, what does that mean? It's allowed. Yes, it's allowed. It's allowed. It doesn't matter that there's a rule or a sign or whatever. It's allowed. Now, there was a lawsuit last year with a gym in New York City where they fired a woman after she was late. Are you ready? 47 times in a 6-month period. She was a personal trainer, so it was important that she be on time because she has clients. You know, I deal with a lot of people that it doesn't really matter when you show up. If you're in marketing, you're in marketing. You market, you know, do it at 3 a.m. I don't care. But if you're a personal trainer and a client, so you got to be there. She sued and said it was racial discrimination, and she won. Now you're all shaking your head going, she was late 47 times in a 6-month period. Of course she was fired. Do you want to know why she won? Anybody guess? They didn't deal with it, and other people were late frequently. Nobody 47 times, but other people, white employees were late. She was the only black employee, the only black personal trainer, and she was the only one fired. Now, coming late 47 times in a 6-month time period, that's unacceptable for a personal trainer. We can argue about for other positions, but for a personal trainer, that is unacceptable. But the company didn't enforce it. They didn't set a boundary. They didn't enforce it with anybody else. They didn't give her warnings. Then they just fired her. She won $11 million. How many of you have 11 million spare dollars in your budget? And in which case, I would like to come work for you, and I only charge 10 million. I'm a bargain, right? Nobody has that kind of money, and I'm sure that on appeal it got cut down. But even if she lost, it would have cost her company hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight. Anybody know how much employment lawyers charge per hour? A lot. Generally, we're talking between $300 and $600 an hour. If you have like one of the super big name law firms, some of them charge $1,000 an hour. And I say, why didn't I go to law school? And I remember I didn't want to be a lawyer. And so, because they failed to set boundaries, they just made a rule, they lost a lawsuit. If they had set boundaries and they had been clear about them and they had held everybody, every personal trainer to the same boundary, they may have fired her and she may have tried to sue. A lawyer would have looked at the case and said, honey, you were late 47 times. No. But because they didn't do the boundaries. So when you are talking about taking control of your own life, you need to stop focusing on rules for other people and focus on what you are going to do. We're going to get rid of passive voice. We don't want to talk about, oh, this will happen or something happened, right? It is, I will make this happen. And when you take that, you take back your power. Because who do you have control over? Just yourself. Just yourself. You can throw out rules all day long, and most people will follow those. You know, if they're logical and reasonable, people will follow them. We all stop at those stop signs because we've agreed that that's a reasonable thing to do. You don't have to have this person with a gun standing there to make you stop. You see the stop sign, you stop. Because you can see the benefit of it in your life. If your employees can't see the benefit of following a rule, there's two possibilities. Possibility one is it's a dumb rule. It's a dumb rule, and so I'm not going to follow it. On my flight from Europe to Dallas, it was 9 hours and 34 minutes in the air, according to the flight attendant. The captain left the fasten seatbelt sign on the he left the fasten seatbelt sign on the entire time. I don't know about you guys, but I am a 51-year-old woman that gave birth to 2 children with bowling ball-sized heads, and I'm not joking. The pediatrician said about my daughter, oh, her head is in the 90th percentile and her weight's in the 45th, but she doesn't look funny. And I said, thank you. So I gotta pee, and I'm sorry that's a little bit too much information. I am an oversharer. I can't go 9 hours and 34 minutes without peeing. What did I do? I disregarded the rule. I couldn't see any benefit to it. We weren't in turbulence, and everybody else was getting up too. Because you can't have a plane, a 777, full of people and say, stay in your seat the whole time. We all ignored it. The flight attendants didn't say anything. The pilot had made a rule. There were no boundaries. Now you might say, Suzanne, the pilot knows more than you. Yes, the pilot did know more than I did. Maybe we were in a super scary, precarious situation. It was only because of the pilot's skill that we managed to avoid turbulence. Turbulence is real. People died from it a few months ago, where a plane dropped, I don't remember how many feet, and people hit the ceiling, and it was terrible. That happens. Who else is flying today? I'm just trying to make real warm, fuzzy things here, right? Those things happen, but it's a rare event, and if it was real, if we were in serious danger, what should the pilot have done? Made an announcement. What should the flight attendants have done? Enforced it. I will make this happen. Instead, it was just a sign. Now, midway through the flight, the pilot made an announcement, I've turned the fasten seatbelt sign on. We're all like, it's been on. And you need to stay in your seats. And the flight attendants came around and they checked to make sure everybody's seatbelt was buckled. And then about 20 minutes later, people start popping up like whack-a-mole, right? We didn't believe them. Not one of us believed that we were in danger. If your rule is something that nobody believes that they're in danger, they're not going to follow it. Your boundary needs to be that way. Your boundary, I will make this happen. If you get up out of your seat, the flight attendant will tell you to sit back down. If you are late, I will write you up. If you sexually harass your coworker, I am going to fire your behind. If I just let it go, if I'm like, oh, that's just Bill. He doesn't mean anything by it. What does that tell us? This isn't acceptable behavior. And pretty soon, it's not just Bill that's going to be sexually harassing people. Everybody else is going to do it, and other bad behavior will pop up, not just sexual harassment. Because once you refuse to enforce a boundary, goodness gracious, once you refuse to enforce a boundary, nobody believes that it exists. You're not taking control. Every one of us gets to set boundaries. I get to set boundaries, you get to set boundaries, everyone gets to set boundaries. Your employees get to set boundaries on what they are willing to do and what they are not willing to do. You may end up with an employee that says, no, I'm leaving in the nose ring. And then now you've got to deal with it. That's their boundary. I'm leaving it in. Now your boundary can either be terminate, write up, suspend, or go back to the CEO and be like, we don't want to lose her. This is a dumb rule. We got to change it. But she's allowed to set that boundary. The CEO gets to set rules and boundaries too. He can say, you have to hire my nephew. But his boundary is, if you don't hire my nephew, then I will. And what are the consequences for that? You get to decide whether you're going to go ahead and fill out that new hire paperwork for the slacker nephew or not. But he has to set a boundary. Does he really want to fire you for not doing it? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you're a terrible worker and this is just an excuse. But more likely, you hold your boundary and he might back down. CEOs get to do boundaries too. And you get to decide if you like that consequence or not. What happens if I don't hire the CEO's nephew? What happens if I put an end to that? Is that a consequence I'm willing to accept? Is this the HR hill I'm going to die on? All of us have them. I hope all of us have them, because there are some unscrupulous businesses out there. And then we decide if we like that consequence or not. And now like is kind of a bad word, but you always have the ability to choose something different. You always do. You may not like that consequence, and you may say, but the situation isn't ideal. Who here is living in an ideal situation? No one. No one's life is absolutely perfect. Exactly. It's okay if situations aren't ideal. You can be in a toxic job, and you can stay in that for a myriad of reasons. It pays well, has good benefits. The market is terrible, and there are no other jobs. It's the best that I can do right now. It allows me the flexibility with my kids. It's close to my house. Whatever it is, you get to choose what to do. You still make that choice. But the important part in taking control of your life is recognizing it is a choice. I have decided to stay in this job. So yes, this is my job, and now what? And it's that taking control of the, yes, this is my situation, and now what? That gives you that power back. You're not forced to. We're not in a slavery situation where you can't leave this job. You can leave it anytime you want. You're an at-will employee. You could just walk out the door at 2:30 and never come back, and there's no legal action anyone could take against you. You're at will, most of you. Probably all of you. You can just leave. You're choosing not to. Don't focus on the why I am not. Now, that doesn't make it easy. This isn't like oh, well then here's a magic word and now your life is full of flowers and rainbows and unicorns or whatever. That's not how it is. You're going to make a choice, and sometimes your options seem bleak. I'm going to teach you a tool, and I need some really brave volunteers. There's no story involved. It's much more difficult. All right. I need 3 volunteers. Come on up. I need 2 more volunteers. Okay, come on up. One more brave person, please. All right. Come on up. Mel will take the microphone. Woohoo! Okay. So we have Roxanne, we have someone who's Katie, and we have
Liza Ramirez.
Liza Ramirez. So we have Roxanne, Katie, and Liza. We're going to teach a game. And this game is called 5 Things. And this is a brainstorming game, but there's a little twist to it, and that's the number 5. You guys have all brainstormed before, right? And it's like the rules are you write everything down, anybody suggests there's no bad ideas, right? And you're supposed to get this out-of-the-box thinking. But I'm here to tell you that the box is really helpful because it gives you what? A boundary. And so by giving 5 things, we are going to limit what we think of. We don't have to come up with 5, but we have to come up with 5. We're not going to come up with 3. We're not going to come up with 2. We're not going to come up with 4. We have to come up with 5. Everything you say is right. So we could say, we're going to solve the problem of, I don't know, what's a problem someone's facing? Communication. So we say, we're going to solve our work communication. And so idea 1 is, if somebody has typos in their email, we're going to fire them. That's probably a bad idea. But it's an okay one for this. But here's the kicker. So when Roxanne says her first idea, everyone's going to go, 1. Okay? And then Roxanne's going to say her second idea, and everyone's going to go, 2. You guys are pattern pickers up on it. And then she's going to say her third idea, and you're going to go, 3. And the fourth idea? And the fifth idea? Wrong. The fifth idea, we're going to go, papers are falling off. 5 things. 5 things, 5 things, 5 things, 5 things. Do it with me, people. 5 things. 5 things, 5 things, 5 things, 5 things. Okay, perfect. You guys ready? So we need a problem for Roxanne to come up with 5 ideas for. Somebody give me a problem. Come on, a problem you're definitely not. How to fire someone? Okay, Give us 5 ways to fire someone. Whatever you say is right. Yeah, five ways to fire someone, 5 reasons to fire someone. Oh. Give us 5 reasons to fire someone.
Tardiness.
1.
Laziness.
2.
Physical altercation.
3.
Lying.
4.
Because I don't like you.
5 things. 5 things, 5 things, 5 things, 5 things. All right, pass it to Katie. What's a problem Katie needs to solve? Go on, somebody. What?
Why would you not join PBSHRM?
Why would you not join PBSHRM? Okay.
It costs money.
1.
I don't have the time.
2.
I don't like the people who are in it.
3.
It's not really focused on what I want to learn about.
4.
They don't serve good food.
5 things. 5 things, 5 things, 5 things, 5 things. Excellent. And last but not least, Eliza? Eliza, what's her problem? That sounds bad. What's your problem? What? Lack of workforce. Give us 5 solutions for the lack of workforce.
Everybody move to El Paso.
1.
There's good TV shows on.
2.
Stay-at-home moms.
3.
Stay-at-home dads.
4.
And I just want to be home with my dog.
5 things. 5 things, 5 things, 5 things, 5 things. Thank you, thank you. Now I'm going to hand you chocolate before you leave. But how do you feel about your ideas?
I love my ideas.
They were great ideas. Oh, everybody had great ideas. How supportive of your ideas were the audience?
They were good.
They were good, right? Right? Were your ideas good ones? Were all of them great?
No.
No. All of them were not great. Were some of them good?
Yes.
Was it always the first one that was the best idea?
No.
No. No. When you do this brainstorming, thank you very much. You guys can sit down. Bringing together people and doing the clapping and the cheering helps enforce the creation of new ideas. When you are stuck and it's a reality that you don't like, but there are reasons why you need to stay that, do this 5 things. Do it with your team. When you have to enforce the no nose piercing rule, you're going to sit down with your team and you're going to do 5 things. 5 ways we can help our employees. 5 ways that we can increase engagement. 5 ways that we can make other people do things. And limiting it to 5 helps expand your brain. Having that limit helps you be able to move forward. Because when you have an unended thing with the brainstorming, are you done? Are you done? Is that enough? One more idea, right? You're not really sure. With 5 things, you're done. And you get that instantaneous positive feedback no matter how dumb your idea is. Now, these 3 all gave pretty darn good ideas. I did have the last conference I did that someone said for firing, we're just going to take them out in the back and beat them, which admittedly got a cheer. But it was not a great idea. I can't recommend that one. But all the ideas don't have to be good, but it allows you to open up your reality and see what it is you're going to choose and lets you know that you can choose something different. You don't have to stick with what was placed before you. You have a choice. Every single one of you has a choice. Every single one of you can choose boundaries and set those boundaries. Stop focusing so much on rules and focus on boundaries that you are going to do, because who can you control? You! You can't control anybody else. My golly, I wish I could control other people. I'm a little power hungry. But I can't. I can only control me. And you can only control you. And so in doing this, you can take control of your own life. You can do what you want to do. And what I want you to do now is to give me feedback. And that would be great if you could scan that, and I will send you a copy of a guide to taking control. I will not send it to you today because I am getting on a plane and I am flying, and the pilot better turn this fasten your seatbelt sign off, or I'm going to ignore that because hydration is important. But that way we can take control of our own lives. Don't ever feel like you're helpless or hopeless. You're not. You're not. And furthermore, I want you to take a look around. Every single person in this room will help you. Everyone. I can't see a single person here that if you said, listen, I am really struggling, that they would say, sucks to be you. They're going to help you. This is one of the advantages of being part of PBSHRM. These people are your HR department. They will help you. I will help you. Mel will help you. She didn't know I was going to volunteer her to do that. But she's very kind. And you will help other people because you're good people. Good people go into HR. People don't choose this profession because they're mean and horrible. Sometimes we start to feel mean and horrible because we deal with so many dumpster fires all day. But I know that you're not. You're good people. And you're going to work together, and you're all going to take control of your lives. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting me come here. And thanks for all of my participants. I will bring chocolates to your table, and then we will not have a fight in the parking lot between the teams. Thanks so much. Oh my goodness! Look at this! Oh, I was going to go to this place after the thing, because somebody told me I had to go to Cindy's South 40. Yes. Oh, thank you! Oh! Thank you! Thanks for having me!